We're live.
Welcome, Shana Erber, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to respond to 3 key questions during this live Facebook interview. All candidates will answer the same questions, and you'll have about 3 minutes per question. We will signal you when you're getting close to the 3-minute mark for each question, so welcome.
Thank you.
The first question, what do you believe are the 3 most important issues facing our town right now, and how would you address these critical issues?
Great. Well, I think there might be redundancy because I've seen some of the other videos, and I think a lot of the candidates are talking about the same issues, but I'll try and give you a different take on those. So the 3 main issues that I think are affecting the town are the growth in the town, the integrity in the current government, and the financial health. And I think let's take growth first. So one of the things, I mean, we all know that growth is coming, Charlotte's growing, it's a booming area, but we are really trying to retain this small, quaint college town. So that's a challenge. And I think that a lot of people talk about the growth, but I think it's not necessarily about the growth, but it's about the commissioner's job as sort of the policing of that growth and making sure that what happens in the town stays within the vision of the town. So zoning, ordinances, coding, I think are all things that we have in place in order to protect what we love about this town. And so I think what's really important about the growth is that those things are being effective, they're being administered properly, and they're being checked on to make sure that people are following the zoning and the ordinances and the codes, and also that those things are getting updated as needed based on new needs or new input or new information we have. So I see that as a key area where we can make a difference.
And
The second thing is the integrity in town. First and foremost, I really do respect anybody who runs for office. The current leaders of our town, I want to say thank you to them for their time because it's largely volunteer, and I have a great respect for the fact that they have put in so much time. But I do think right now there is a bit of a battle between the citizens feeling like their input is not being heard, listened to, and the current government. There have also been, different types of communications and documents uncovered that just sometimes don't feel quite right. And so I think what has to happen is a reestablishing of trust. I think the citizens want to feel like the people in office truly represent them, are truly listening to them, and then there won't be, transparency is very important, certainly when there's this mistrust. But I don't think there's as big of a need for transparency if people trust what's going on in government and feel like it's being executed in the way that they expected when they went through the election and promises were made. So I feel like we can definitely look at some of the issues, and certainly again, some of the things that come up, are documents that get uncovered later on that might have been, for instance, in the Beatty Street property, that might have been overlooked. I think one thing you can do as a commissioner is admit that maybe you didn't get information at the right time, or that something came in later, and be able to halt the process and not kind of push things through like, a train that's left the station. Third one is financial health. So the elephant in the room that everybody kind of knows about is my connection. It's costing us $1 million every year and more than that in debt to Mooresville. So I think everybody uses these keywords of exit strategy, and I will be the first to admit that I need to get more informed about the roadblocks with making an exit strategy, how we can get out of it. I think I'm learning as I go, and I'm certainly keep reading up and researching the issues, but financial health is extremely important. I think it handcuffs us because currently there's pressure to find new revenue streams to come into the town, and in order to make up for that loss essentially that we have every year. And maybe we wouldn't be so rushed to decision making and making rash decisions if we didn't have those handcuffs. So I really think there needs to be a focused group that's concentrating on that, figuring out a plan, communicating with the public about what we're going to do and how we're going to get out of that.
Thank you. The second question is a 2-part question having to do with strengths and weaknesses. What are the greatest strengths or experiences you bring as a candidate, and how would you apply these to better Davidson?
Great. I was a marketing professional, And one of my many roles as a marketing professional in 20 years of business was client services manager. As a client services manager, you work with the client as well as your vendor or agency that you represent, and you're the liaison between the two. And so I think the skills that I had to have to be successful in that position were collaboration, communication, being approachable, a service attitude, customer service to both my teammates and the client. So I think I bring a lot of that to the table, and that from my professional experience, and I think that all can be applied. I think you really, as a commissioner, have to be a collaborator, a true collaborator. Another thing that I wanted to mention is just that I actually have the time to do what's necessary to read up and research the different issues. So currently I'm not working. I'm a mother of 2 kids that are in middle school, so they're becoming more independent. And I think that we talked to Margot Williams the other day, who used to be a commissioner, and she talked a little bit about the time commitment can be anywhere from 5 to 30 hours a week, sometimes during major things. So you really want to make sure that the person that you're electing has that time to attend the meetings, to read the research, to look into things, to meet with different people. And so I found myself at a time in my career where I have that time, and I wanted to do something like this. So that's another strength that I can bring to the table.
Thank you. On the flip side, what are your weaknesses or areas for further development, and how would you address these in order to best serve our town?
I think one of my main weaknesses is that I don't have a lot of the history that some of the people who have lived here longer than I have. So, and I'm new to town government. So I am doing my best to catch up, get up to speed, understand some of, I've read some documents that are on the background of my connection, for instance. I wasn't here when all that was going down. So I think that can be a weakness, but I'm trying to overcome that by making sure I talk to people, I learn more, I read documentation, and I get to know what's going on. My sort of tagline for my campaign is asking the right questions, and that has to do with during new proposals, during collaboration, but also just getting up to speed. Ask people, talk to different people who have that information, and really gain the knowledge you need to.
Thank you. And last question. What do you think the role of commissioner is and should be? And what duties are prescribed by the statute? And how does that translate to day-to-day operations in Davidson?
So I think the simple explanation for what a commissioner does is to enact ordinances and administer them. So you're kind of the legislative body of the town government. And one of the reasons I kind of wanted to get into this is that interests me. I like seeing how a town develops. I like things like architecture and parks and open space and planning. So having an interest in it is great, because then I'm not going to get bored, obviously. But I think the key to what the role of commissioner is in layman's term is that you're really a representative of the citizens who elected you. So they elected you because you have the time to go into all the meetings and make the decisions, and they feel like you're a smart person to do so, but you're also representing their needs, their vision for the town, their core values, and you should always keep that top of mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shana.
Thank you too. Nice to see you.
You too.